Hello and welcome to Data Planet. I'm Emma Davis, and today's guest is Will Devlin, Senior Vice President of Marketing for MessageGears. Welcome to the show, Will.
Thanks for having me on.
So to start, tell me about MessageGears. Who are your customers and what is it that you're helping them do?
Of course, we are. MessageGears is a customer engagement software platform for enterprise brands, mostly in B2C spaces. So we work with a lot of household names like Best Buy, Home Depot, Sherwin-Williams, Indeed, and we help them create better audiences using their vast amounts of customer data, and then execute those campaigns and journeys across a multitude of channels, including email and mobile.
Very cool. Primarily really large organizations, right? So you mentioned that. Is that from a sales strategy perspective, or from that's the reality of the situation to have enough data in order to do what we do? Like, why target those companies in particular?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think you boil it down to the genesis of why we were founded 15 years ago is that any marketing team and any organization wants every customer to feel like they're, very unique, and that they're truly heard, and that they're, obviously, you want to get relevant offers. You want, this concept of one-to-one personalization and communication, right? You want people to feel like, no matter the brand and no matter the size of the brand, that the brand knows you as a customer and values you as a customer. The larger you get, the more obviously customers you have, but the more data points you have on those customers, the more touch points. Especially if you're multi-channel, where you've got retail locations, you've got call centers, you've got a website, you've got a mobile app. There's a lot of moving parts, and it gets increasingly more difficult to create experiences that feel unique and personal for those people, right? And I think as consumers, we also hold those types of brands, those bigger brands, to oddly enough a higher standard, right? We're like, oh, Best Buy spelled my name wrong in this email. It's Best Buy. How did they do that? Um, and so Best Buy would never, by the way.
Yeah. No,
But
not
I
with
think
MessageGears help,
not
certainly.
with MessageGears. But so I think, there's this dynamic of there's just so much data and there's so much pressure and there's so many moving parts, and technology moves very quickly. And so that is the genesis, even 15 years ago, was how do you give marketing teams and data teams at large organizations the tools they need to be flexible and creative on their own, but also the have the architecture of the tools that they're using be able to leverage all the stuff they know about their customers, and not just a portion of it or a small copy of it. So that's why we focus exclusively on enterprise. A lot of the pains that we solve for exclusively get felt at that size.
Got it. Okay. And so how do you actually find those customers? And actually, before we get into that, my experience is the bigger the company you're targeting, the longer it takes, the more people are involved, the more people need to sign off, IT, legal, procurement. You have all these different stakeholders involved. You are one priority among all the individual priorities of those people. Um, and you're nodding, which makes me think like, yep, that's what you're dealing with is a lot of people where sourcing might be really difficult to understand what's working for you. Um, and even getting things through from, okay, we got a lead to a closed one deal could be months and months and months, maybe. So
Yeah.
cool. All of that is
Yeah,
relevant.
I
Cool.
mean, all of any gray hairs you see, or lack of hair you're starting to see, is a result of all of this. I think I joke around all the time that in my next role, wherever that may be, I want to sell something that's easy, and you just buy. You just socks, something you need and you can just buy quickly. Um, yeah, enterprise software is um, it's a high consideration purchase. It does take a long time, and it's hard for a brand like us or a vendor like us that is not a well-known established name, a quote unquote safe name, like a
Mhm.
Salesforce or an Adobe or Oracle, to break into some of these bigger companies.
Mm.
Why would somebody want to stick their neck out for a vendor and risk their career? So I get that. But it's even in the best scenario, you're looking at, once you've made contact, which that could take forever. You're looking at anywhere between 6 to 12 months to go through a process, evaluate whether we're a good fit, evaluate all the use cases, make sure we're good to go, and ultimately get selected as the vendor to do business with. And it is not just one person making that decision. To your point, it is a variety of people in a variety of different departments that have to work together. And that is also a challenge for a small team, to find a way to break into all those different departments, different people, different views and different successes. Like, there's different things they care about. And so all of that makes it a very difficult and very hard to read play from an attribution standpoint as a marketer, from a just a timeline standpoint. It's very difficult. And half the time have to go on vibes and and next steps, and hope for the best. Yeah, hope is. I know it's not supposed to be a strategy, but sometimes that's all you have.
Yeah. And so when a potential opportunity comes to you, to MessageGears, do they have, let's say someone, they have like their hair is on fire. We have this problem. We need MessageGears help. What is the problem that typically they have? Or are they more so, we're looking forward, we're trying to figure out how can we level up? Like, do they have a problem or do they have an opportunity? Where do you guys come into that conversation with them?
Yeah, I think there's typically three different areas where we would find somebody that's, if they're coming to us with an existing problem, it is typically that they don't feel like they're getting enough flexibility or being able to utilize all of their data,
Hmm.
which again, we're uniquely suited for. That's why we exist. And so it feels like they're limited in some ways in the things they can do from a marketing standpoint. So that's the primary use case. A lot of big businesses have made
Hmm.
investments in more modern data infrastructure, especially. They're putting all of their data into cloud data warehouses like Snowflake or Databricks or Google's BigQuery, and then they're still using tools that were built 20 to 25 years ago, and still using them in a very similar way that they were. And so that's just inefficient, and they realize that they're not getting the most out of it. The second that they know they have a problem with is typically costs, and they're typically related, which again is, because you're having to send various SaaS tools data and store data in their tool as well, and then be able to use it. Not only are you using a subset of your full, what you know about customers, because you're not sending all of your data, you're sending a little snippet. But you're then having to store it twice and pay for that storage and pay for the usage of that. Um, and so typically costs can get out of control if you want to start trying new things and being more creative. And then the third thing is there is a little bit more exploratory, where people are on a vendor. I'll call them out, Salesforce. You can edit that if you want, but
On notice,
typically,
Salesforce, watch out. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. Oh, no, no. Hopefully they do see this. But um, y- typically, they're on a vendor and they feel like they're being nickel and dime. They don't feel like they're getting good service. They don't feel like the software is innovating fast enough, and they're looking for a way out and seeing what else is out there. Sometimes it's scary, and sometimes, I would say a decent amount of time they are looking and they don't move because it's a scary proposition to move and it's safe to stay put. But they would like to find ways to make that relationship either go away or to be easier. And so, those are the three most common things that we see, and that's, we can address all three of them. We do it all the time.
Nice. And so how are you connecting with your audience using those 3 messages? We talked about how hard it is to understand what's working. Do you have some some inklings, some clues as to what's most
Of
effective
course,
to share those?
yeah, yeah. We have clues and data points, and then you do this long enough. I've been here 12 years. I mean, you do it long enough, you start to pick up on some patterns, and you start to understand that you're not going to get instant gratification on some things. and realize that sometimes that first touch that I talked about earlier, that outreach, uh, does not doesn't happen until maybe a year after your first interaction or your first touch, and that's a long time to keep something open, right? So, we have a variety of things where we get out in the field. Um, we, are sponsoring big industry events. Sometimes with a booth, sometimes not. Sometimes we're just doing dinners. Sometimes we're hosting our own events where we're renting suites out at ballparks in cities where our customers are, and we know some other folks who we want to do business with are, and we invite them. We have a team doing that today, actually, out in San Francisco. Um, and we're taking good care of our customers, so we're building good inroads there. You take good care of your customers when they go to their next job, they're gonna bring you in. They're gonna recommend you. That happens often with us. And so, not only do you give them great software and great service, but you take good care of them, and you make them feel like like you care about them as people. They're typically going to want to continue that relationship. So those are ways we get out there, and then we're always doing the air coverage. We're trying to bang the drum of data centralization, and then building your stack around being able to utilize that, which obviously fits right into our core value prop as a vendor, but also just it's what we believe truly that if you're making these big investments and big plays, you should be able to build your stack around playing off of that. Um, and doing all the typical ad buys, nurture programs, content syndication, content writing. A big new frontier for us is finding a way to be visible in all of these AI tools, like making sure that when people are going to AI tools to ask for recommendations, like they used to do with Google, that we show up there and that we show up accurately and in the right spots.
Yeah. Nice. And so, Will, I want to talk a little bit about you and your relationship with MessageGears because you mentioned you've been in business for the last 15 years. You've been there almost 12 years. So they were a pretty new company when you started. What did MessageGears look like when you got started there?
I started, so MessageGears was started by uh, a group of engineers, 4 engineers, and they spent the first 3 years building out this idea. And so they, were in a incubator program here in Atlanta, which is where we're based, and started, almost as a secondary job for them, just developing this thing and this idea and making it real. And then they got some funding and started making some hires, and I was one of their first hires. I was the first marketing hire they made. They had just hired a salesperson and a sales leader, and then a couple of other engineers. So I was employee number 8, and so it was a true startup. It was you know put your own desk together on day one, and here's your laptop, and just go for it. Figure it out. We don't know anything about marketing. Good luck. Tell us what you need. And by the way, you have no money. So, um, but I loved it because I was very familiar. I came up on the retail side, e-commerce side, so I was very familiar with the space as a user, and saw the potential of what we had to offer. I worked for a large national e-commerce and retail chain. And so I understood to a certain extent what the value was. We
Mhm.
weren't quite as big as some of our biggest customers, but we definitely would, understand it. And just started building it out from there. And today we have offices in Atlanta. We have a remote workforce as well. We have offices in Dublin, Ireland, and in Pune, India. We're about 100 people, and yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been like I've worked for 10 different companies over 12 years. It's been each phase has felt completely unique, completely different. The market has shifted a ton, mostly in our favor, and that's felt good. So it is unique, and people are always shocked when they find out not only that I've been here 12 years, but I've been here 12 years as a marketer and as a marketing leader, because it's typically the especially when you start raising money, is typically that one role that doesn't doesn't survive, it gets blamed for everything. Um, but yeah, we scrape and claw and continue to do the business the right way. And I truly believe in the product and love the culture that I've helped build here and that we have built here, and that keeps me here. So
Right, so it has more to do with, well, it sounds like a combination of things, like being one of the early hires, getting to be part of the organization as it's built up over time, having a say in sort of the transformation. 'Cause yeah, that's one of the things that stood out to me. Most people I interview for this show, I look at their LinkedIn and it's, "Oh, I was here for 2 years and there for 2 years and here for 2," and, like, you know, they just there's a lot of turnover with senior marketing roles, and so, uh, yeah, this is there something special about MessageGears? Something special about you? Something special about how the 2 of you came together? Like, what's making this work in the long term for you?
also, I mean, again, I think you have to be somewhat good at your job to keep your job for a long time. So I don't want to discredit
So,
myself, but I also think,
a little
yeah,
long-winded.
yeah. I mean, just not to, not to brag, but I also just think, look, I value stability and value, finishing what you started, and I take a lot of pride in spending so much time, so much of my life, period, here, and building this thing and making it real. And um, you know, I take a lot of pride and a lot of just joy in impacting. It sound corny, but impacting other people's lives. Whether they're people that work here, whether it's my own, whether it's my family, my children. Um, whether it's for our customers, right? Like I take a lot of pride and joy in that,
Mhm.
in improving in any small way somebody's life. And as a software vendor, we're not curing cancer, but we are, doing something fun, doing something unique, in some way, making something better in somebody's day. And so I enjoy all of that, and that keeps me here. And again, I do think having a hand in helping build the culture here and the team that we build here, truly just feels like we're all rowing in the same direction. We're all, we all believe in what we're doing, and I think that matters too. It's not a toxic environment. Nobody wants to spend their time and around a bunch of people they don't like. So
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Will, thank you so much for sharing insights into Message Gears, into your customers, and into you and your journey there. Listeners, if you want to learn more about Will and Message Gears, details will be in the show notes. Will, thank you so much for being a guest on Data Planet today.
it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.